إذا شئت سهلا اللهم يا كريم أكرمنا بنور الفهم وأخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Just to continue from where we left yesterday in relation to acts which break the fast. So we went through an introduction to Ramadan and the importance of fasting, and thereafter we explained the linguistical, lexical meaning of fasting, and then the technical meaning, istilah, of fasting. And we also went through some acts or actions which do break the fast. And then those were divided into three categories, as you can see on the slide in front of you. If I could just request, if brothers can come forward, if it's okay and not inconvenient, inshallah. If you just stand up, inshallah, and just come forward, inshallah, jazakallah. So I'm not addressing an empty vacuum. It's difficult for me to have eye contact. People are so far away. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد معدن الجود والكرم وآله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. So actions that break the fast, they were categorized into three actions. Accidental mistakes. So you knew you were fasting, but you unintentionally did an act which breaks the fast. So for example, you knew that you were fasting, you went to perform the minor ritual ablution, ritual purity wudu, and then accidentally water went down your throat. So this will break your fast, but it will only necessitate a qada, not a kafara. The second type of mistakes are those which are deliberate mistakes. May Allah protect all of us from doing such deliberate mistakes. And I told you before, the enormity of doing such an act, where a person knows that he or she is fasting, and then knowingly, on purpose, with intent, they nullify their fast. They do an act which breaks their fast. This will not only necessitate a qada, it will also necessitate a kafara. I'm going to come on to what it means by a kafara. And then the last category of those acts which are done in a state where you are absent-minded, i.e. you genuinely forgot that you are in a state of fasting, and then you, without intention obviously, unintentionally did an act which nullifies the fast. Inshallah Azza wa Jal, this will not necessitate neither a qada nor a kafara. Your fast is still intact. The example given was, say for example, someone was absent-minded. It happens, with fasting, mashallah, some people's brains, they go into a slow mode, which is good to an extent, inshallah. With dunyawi matters, that's fine. Deeni matters, you become sharp. This is the blessing of fasting. So, a person becomes, he was fasting, but then for a short span of time, for the spur of the moment, he forgot or she forgot that they were fasting, and they ate or drank. When they ate and drank, they had finished. Thereafter they remembered, oh, I had a fast. Then this does not invalidate the fast. Neither is a qada necessary nor a kafara. You don't need to make up for it, and there is no expiation for it. Your fast is still valid. However, having said that, what you need to remember here is this. If, for example, I had a morsel of food, yesterday we spoke about Pringles, I think we'll use a better example, halal crisps, Walker's, the halal flavors. You had them in your mouth, and then you ate a bit, and then there was still a morsel of food in your mouth that you remembered that you're in the state of fasting. Now the ruling is this, that you have to spit out whatever is in your mouth. As soon as you remember, जब आपको याद आ गया तो फौरन जो आपके मुंह में अभी लुक़मा है, जिसको आप अभी नहीं निगले हैं, उसको बाहर थूकना आपके ऊपर फर्ज है, लाजिम है कि आप उसको बाहर फेंक दें. If you didn't do it, If you didn't spit that morsel of food out and you swallowed it, your fast will break. So remember one thing, as soon as you remember, throw out the contents of which are in the mouth. Okay, whatever you put into the mouth, throw it out, rinse your mouth, obviously don't gargle, and inshallah your fast will be intact, your fast will be valid. So just to continue from where we left yesterday, if you were to drink or eat something whilst you were asleep, or your mouth was wide open and raindrops, water went down the throat, the fast will break, but only a qada is necessary. Some people do have a habit of, you heard of sleepwalking, sleep eating as well. We have been told through reliable sources that it does happen. So if a person did eat or drink whilst they were asleep, the fast will break. If you put a coloured thread into the mouth, especially those who do weaving and knitting and sewing and tailoring, probably that rules most of you out, 90% of you. A coloured thread into your mouth, say a green coloured thread, and the colour of the saliva changed to the colour of the thread, and it became green, and then you swallow the saliva, then your fast will break. Yeah? With tears, if only 1 or 2 drops of tears enter the mouth, the fast is not broken. If it's only 1 or 2. If, however, more than 1 or 2 drops enter the mouth, and the bitterness of the tears can be tasted, then the fast will break. The same ruling applies to perspiring, to sweat. If someone sweats a lot, and they drank their sweat, they swallowed their sweat, if it's 1 or 2 drops, by which a person cannot be able to taste, is not able to taste the bitterness of the sweat, then that does not break the fast. However, if it was more than that, to the extent that the bitter taste of the sweat or the tears is felt in the mouth, then the fast will? The fast will? Only one person, the fast will? MashaAllah. Inshallah, you will have the time to break your fast, which is later on, inshallah, the time of iftar. So brace yourself. Right, a common misconception that I want to alleviate at this point: a mouthful of vomit. Okay, vomiting. Let me just take a step back. Vomiting will only break your fast if A, it is done deliberately, B, it is a mouthful, and C, it consists of food or blood or liquid. So there's 3 conditions. Many people say, they vomit a mouthful, natural vomit. They had a stomach bug or something, and they vomited, and they become panicky, and they say, my fast is broken, and then what they do, they deliberately eat and drink after that. The great mistake that they made was to eat deliberately after that, thinking that their fast had broken, obviously because they didn't gain the adequate knowledge or the basic knowledge of fasting, and that will not only necessitate a qada, it will also necessitate a kafara. The reason is this: vomiting is food being expelled out of the body, not taken in. So logically speaking, rationally thinking, would vomit break your fast?
No.
No. So when someone had assumed illogically that this vomit had broken their fast and then deliberately ate and drank, then that would necessitate a kafara and expiation. Because even if he was to think logically, he would understand that vomiting would not break the fast. Vomiting only breaks the fast when A, it is done deliberately, intentionally, on purpose, and B, it is a mouthful of vomit. What does a mouthful of vomit? Mouthful of vomit does not mean that you then vomit into the jug and then measure the milliliters. Mouthful of vomit, the definition is uncontrollable. You cannot keep your mouth shut. Some people can't keep their mouth shut. That's a verbal diarrhea we're talking about. That's different. This is vomiting, and you cannot control. You cannot, withhold your mouth. Does anyone want to do a demonstration? It's okay. If the vomiting is natural, involuntary, then irrespective of the amount, mouthful or not, it will not break the fast. अगर किसी ने कसदन जानबूझ के उंगलियां डाल करके उल्टी की और ये मुंह भर कै है, तो इससे रोजा टूट जाएगा, इस कै से रोजा टूट जाएगा. लेकिन अगर यानी आदतन या किसी बीमारी की वजह से गैर कसदी तौर पर अगर उसको कै आई, तो चाहे ये मुंह भर के हो या उससे कम हो, रोजा फासिद नहीं होगा. इसका जरूर ख्याल रखिए. बाज़ लोग क्या कहते हैं और क्या करते भी हैं, कह कर लेते हैं, फिर उसके बाद समझते हैं, यानी बिला कसद, फिर समझते हैं कि मेरा रोजा टूट गया, फिर जानबूझ के खाते पीते हैं, जिसकी वजह से फिर न सिर्फ ये कि कज़ा लाजिम आएगी, कफारा भी लाजिम आएगा. कज़ा और कफारा दोनों लाजिम आएंगे. और कफारे के बारे में इंशाल्लाह बाद बयान करूंगा. कुछ लोगों की आंखें इंशाल्लाह खुल जाएंगी और कभी भी वो कसदन इंशाल्लाह रोजा तोड़ने की कोशिश भी नहीं करेंगे इंशाल्लाह. So the rulings that we mentioned about vomiting, have you understood this? Yes? Obviously this has to be done every single year because Ramadan comes every single year. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And we tend to forget. Yani we forgot what we ate for suhoor and iftar because obviously the number of things that was on our table mat. But it has to be every year inshallah. So please remember these rulings. These above rules, or the rulings that I've just mentioned in relation to vomit, are only applicable when the vomit consists of food, blood and liquid. If it consists of phlegm, balgham, then irrespective of the amount, it does not matter whether it was done deliberately or otherwise, it will not break the fast. Obviously doing it deliberately would entail sin. You shouldn't do it anyway. But in the case of it being consisted of phlegm, it will not break the fast. So now another subsection here, actions that do break the fast, but where only a qada, making up, is necessary, i.e. you only make up for that one day's fast that had been nullified and invalidated. If someone was under the impression, a genuine thought, a genuine assumption, not that he's got the iPhone in front of him, the phone in front of him, the watches in front of him, and then he thinks that Sunnah Sari has not been done. He can't keep tabs with the time. Genuinely speaking, there may be a scenario where you were under the impression that the Sunnah Sari has not occurred, apologies. And obviously, hence you still keep on eating your suhoor, the pre-dawn meal. But subsequently, later on, you find out that, oh, it was already 1:15. In a genuine mistake, a genuine assumption that the break of dawn has not yet occurred, it is not the Sahri end time. So it's genuine, okay? The word has to be highlighted here, genuine. You can't fake it, okay? You got a phone in front of you, you're not looking at it. I don't want to look at it because I want to eat that samosa. I can't resist. So you switch your phones off. That's not a genuine, that's faking it. Okay, a genuine assumption and a genuine scenario that may arise where you think that Sunnah Sadiq has not yet occurred, and then you eat the suhoor, you continue eating the pre-dawn meal, and then subsequently later on you find out that suhoor had already finished, the Sunnah Sadiq had already occurred at the time that I was eating, then your fast will break, but only a qada is necessary, not a kafara. There may be a slide that will come later on, but just to remind you at this very point, I mentioned to you this before, if in a scenario where a person's fast has been broken because of an action undertaken deliberately or unintentionally, then it does not give them a leeway to start eating and drinking thereafter. That they invite people to a pre-iftar party. No. It is wajib upon such people whose fast has been broken either because of an action taken deliberately or otherwise to remain in the state of fasting for the duration of the day until sunset, out of respect and honor of this sacred month, the month of Ramadan. Which brings me to a ruling, okay, I won't mention it here. I'll mention it. Okay, but obviously it should not be applied in this country. Okay, and then there's a ruling in the books of fiqh that under an Islamic government, a country that is ruled by an Islamic government and an Islamic ruler, if someone deliberately, openly, publicly eats and drinks without a valid Shari'i reason in the month of Ramadan, then the governor, the Islamic governor, has a right to slay him. Okay, this is the importance of the month of Ramadan, the sanctity that this month holds. It's like open mockery with this blessed month of Ramadan. Okay, right. Moving on. If you eat or drink forgetfully and think that as a result of this, the fast has broken and thereafter you deliberately continue to eat or drink, then it is compulsory to perform a qada. A kafara is not necessity. I'm just going to paraphrase that. If someone absent-mindedly ate or drank, okay, what was the ruling for that? He genuinely forgot that he was fasting and he ate and he drank. What's the ruling?
Qada. Only qada.
La. His fast is valid.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have to do a qada. He still remains in a state of fasting. He genuinely there was a lapse of concentration and he forgot, he was absent-minded. He forgot that he was in a state of fasting. He ate and he drank. Later on he realized that he was in a state of fasting. Will his fast break? No. No. He continues his fast, not even a qada nor a kafar. In this scenario, the same scenario, where someone forgetfully ate or drank in the state that he forgot that he was fasting, but then later on said to himself, oh, I ate or drank, so therefore that means my fast has broken, and therefore he deliberately then ate or drank, this will necessitate a qada. Now this fast has broken now obviously, but it will only necessitate a qada, not a kafara. Why? In the previous situation where I mentioned to you when someone vomited something out, and then he thought, illogically, that his fast was broken, then deliberately ate or drank, not only is a qaza necessary, a kafara is also necessary, but here only a qada is necessary. Why the difference? Why the difference?
Forgetfulness.
Okay, the reason is this. Vomiting is something going into or coming out of the body. Coming out of the body. So, when you just think, logically, would something being taken out of the body nullify your fast? No. No. So therefore the person deliberately doing it thought illogically he had no grounds to think that his fast had broken. He had no reason whatsoever, not even logically. It was illogical for him to think like that. But here, he had eaten and drunk, which is taking something into the body. Yes? So therefore, in the apparent sense, it seems as though the fast has broken. So therefore he thought that my fast is broken, therefore deliberately ate and drank. It will nullify that fast, but only a qada is necessary, not a kafara. Okay? When a child reaches the age of 10, and how old are you? MashaAllah. And they have the strength to keep a fast, then he or she should be strongly encouraged to keep a fast. Okay? Just to inculcate the habit into the child of keeping these fasts. In India, I think I was told that when a child, prepubescent child, keeps the first fast, at the time of iftar, they put a garland of flowers around him, and they go to people's homes and they give them a bit of, mashallah, fulus, money, to encourage them. This is a kind of encouragement, mashallah. So, when a child reaches the age of 10 and they have the strength, they're not weak in the sense, mashallah, Allah give you strength, then they should be strongly encouraged to keep a fast. Obviously during weekends it's easier. Okay, so if it's the weekends, then allow them to fast during the weekends. If the child, however, breaks the fast, then they are not given the order to do the qada. However, with namaz, with salah, even though it's not obligatory on them, they are not legally responsible to break salah yet. However, if they do break their salah, they will be ordered, instructed to do the qada of salah, not the fast. Do you understand? The Prophet ﷺ said with regards to salah, children should be taught at the age of 7. At the age of 10, they should be strongly encouraged to pray namaz, salah. And here, people have gone way post their puberty period or their adolescence, and they still not praying their salah. Someone who passed away, a deceased person, had some outstanding qada fasts, then the wali, the next of kin, should give a fidya, a ransom, to the poor. But this is only necessary in the instance where the deceased has written a will, has bequeathed to do so, and left some provisions behind to do so. What usually happens is this: as soon as someone, a beloved passes away, the next of kin, they then start arguing in relation to the inheritance. So, I will have this amount of wealth, I will have this amount of wealth, I'm going to have this amount of share of wealth because I stayed with my father. No, you cannot stipulate how much each person gets. It's the Quran that has already stipulated and put down the laws and the orders governing the law of inheritance, how the inheritance has to be shared and divided. Not you, not human beings. يُوصِيكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي أَوْلَادِكُمْ لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. The ayat of inheritance, of mirath, is explicitly in the Quran. In Surah An-Nisa, I think. No.
Yes, An-Nisa.
MashaAllah, exactly. Surah An-Nisa. Okay? So therefore it has to be divided according to the Quranic principles. Now what's happening nowadays in India, especially in India, it's happening elsewhere as well, with the land prices being extortionately high. There are siblings, people have siblings, brothers and sisters over there, and they say to people here who've come overseas to England and to the UK, to America, elsewhere, you have no share in our father's land that's been sold. वो तो आपको मिल गया ना, आपकी वीज़ा जो लगाई थी, आपके घर के पीछे जो है दरख्त पे सोना उगता है. You have trees of gold that sprout forth in your back garden. This is against the principles of Islam, principles of the Quran. The inheritance has to be shared equally. Even with sisters, they have to be given a share which the Sharia has stipulated. Some brothers, they violate the rights of their sisters, because sisters are usually soft-hearted. They say, maaf hai. They're not allowed to even forgive their share. They take in their position, later on if they want to forgive, give it back, then they can. But what brothers do, they take that benefit and exploit the soft-hearted nature of their sisters and deprive them of their share of inheritance. But what they should be prioritizing in is this: the qada, the debt of that's left behind by the deceased person, whether it's in terms of huquq al-ibad, whether it's in terms of huquq Allah, especially most in terms of huquq al-ibad. The deceased person has died and left a qard of £5,000, incurred a debt of £5,000 which is not paid. The Prophet ﷺ said, a person's ruh, the soul of a person, remains in suspense until and unless their debt is paid off. So they are in agony. And the family is quarreling and bickering over the amount of money that's left behind. If they've got qada salah, then instead of, I'm saying this, I'm not saying I shouldn't say this, I should say this, and I'm saying this, instead of spending so much money on the grave stone and decorating their graves and turning it out to be like an orchard, where this hadith just says put some flowers on and it's turned out to be an orchard, and feeding people like a huge ceremony, we should be prioritizing and trying to fulfill the debt on the deceased in terms of uququllah, the missed salah and the missed fast. In exchange of each salah, you pay the amount of sadaqatul fitr. Approximately in the UK, it's been calculated to be about £3 or £3.50 for each namaz. For each fast, the same. So if someone missed 30 days of fasts, 1 year's fast, prior to their death, then a person will pay approximately £100. £90, approximately £100. To the poor, to the masakeen, to the fuqara. This is what you should be prioritizing in. Yeah? Some people obviously they don't look after their parents when they are alive. After they pass away, thousands of pounds are spent on their graves, decorating it, embellishing it. Thousands of pounds are spent on feeding people. The guy couldn't even bring a gallon of milk from a supermarket, and now, mashallah, which is good, but I'm saying to you, prioritize. Think before it's too late. Okay? Right. Wow. This is where you enter the danger zone. And I hope you don't. Inshallah. Actions that break the fast, but which also necessitate a kafara, an expiation. अच्छा फिदिया की बात जो पहले मैंने की थी, फिदिया सिर्फ वो शख्स दे सकता है जो शेख फानी हो. शेख फानी का माना यह है ऐसा बुरा शख्स जो दिन ब दिन कमजोर होता जा रहा है और उसकी सेहत के लिए अब कोई एहतिमालात बाकी नहीं. वो दिन ब दिन कमजोर होता जा रहा है, यहाँ तक कि जो मौसम सरमा में तकरीबन 10 घंटे के रोजे होते हैं अप्रोक्सीमेटली, वो भी नहीं रख सकता है, तो उसके लिए फिदिया है. बाज हटे कट्टे किस्म के लोग हमारे पास आते हैं, हमारे साथ वो फिदिया क्या है रोजे का. मैं कहता हूँ क्या फिदिया की बात कर रहे हैं, कि बीमार है ना, कौन सी बीमारी लायक है, और थोड़ा सा सर में दर्द है, दर्द सर is not a valid excuse for you to miss the fast, the current fast of Ramadan, let alone giving a fidya. And even in that scenario where someone had a minor illness or genuinely an illness that he could not or she could not fast the current days of Ramadan or the current day of Ramadan, then they have to make up for it in winter, in the shorter days in winter, where suhoor is approximately 6:30 and you break the fast at about 4 o'clock. If in the situation where they can't even keep the fasts of winter, the shorter fast, only then are they allowed to give a fidya. But even then, if the person after having paid the ransom regains such health by the idhn of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he can fast or she can fast, then they have to now fast. That fidya will be regarded as nothing. Do you understand? बाज़ सीधे ऑप्शन 10 पे चले जाते हैं फिदिया वाला, वो दूसरी बातें नहीं देखते. Okay. If the fast of Ramadan is deliberately broken, there are conditions for that I'm going to mention to you. There are 6 conditions in which kafara is necessitated. I'm going to mention to you what kafara means later on. نرشد اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد مع عظيم الجود والكرم وآله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. Okay. Number 1, you kept a fast in the month of Ramadan with the intention of Ramadan. That's condition number 1. And then you broke it. Not you, someone broke it. The person was a muqim, a non-traveler. I'll explain who a traveler is in the light of Sharia. Number 3, the person was legally responsible, mukallaf. Hence, if a child breaks a fast, a qada is not necessary, nor a kafar. Person has to be mukallaf. Number 4, the intention for fast was made at night, not in the morning. Number 5, after breaking the fast, there should not be an involuntary state in which one is exempt from fasting. Say for example, someone, na'udhu billahi min dhalik, fulfilled all the conditions for kafara, broke their fast, but they then incurred a genuine illness that exempts them from fasting that very day, then only a qada is necessary. Or a woman broke her fast deliberately, na'udhu billah, and then they went into the state, into the menstrual cycle. Yeah? So those are the 5 conditions. So what is kafara? If someone deliberately, with the condition that I told you before, breaks their fast of Ramadan, of the current fast of Ramadan, they will have to do a kafara of fasting 60 days consecutively, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other, without any gaps in between. Plus the fasts which they had broken. So if it's one fast they had deliberately broken, nullified, so that's 61. If it's within 1 month of Ramadan that they had broken 3-4 fasts deliberately, then obviously only one kafara is necessary, i.e. 60 days, but with the addition of the number of days that they had broken, 60 plus 4, 60 plus 5, whatever. So say for example, if someone started to keep those 60 fasts, and then on the 59th day, when he was to celebrate Eid, after 2-3 days, he became severely ill, he could not genuinely keep that fast, then he has to start the cycle all over again. He comes back to square one. Why? What's the reason? Why the severity? It's not severity. Why is the hukum so strict? Because I'm not telling you. Because they are the fasts of Ramadan. And the Prophet ﷺ said, if someone who may have genuinely missed their fast was to then later on make up for that one fast of Ramadan by fasting their entire life at dahr, they would still not regain or attain that barakah and the blessings that they had missed from that one fast of Ramadan. It's a deterrent. This should be something that's a deterrent that opens people's eyes not to do a koja. Rosa at home, koja outside. They go to school, at home they've kept suhoor and etc. They've done the suhoor and they've said to their mum and dad, I'm keeping a fast today. They go behind the blocks, behind the science lab, and then they start eating that Aussie crunch, or what was it yesterday, cheesecake. And start smoking. It's mockery. And anyone who mocks the sha'airul Islam, sha'airullah, the signs of Allah, this is the penalty. And not only does a person has to do a kafara, they have to do a tawbah, sincere tawbah, for disrespecting the sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is in the form of fasts of Ramadan. They are the sha'airullah. So now coming on to acts which do not break the fast, to give you a sign of relief. Things which do not break your fast. If someone ate or drank forgetfully, absent-mindedly, I told you this before, it does not break their fast. Their fasting continues. If a fly, fly, smoke or dust was to enter the mouth and below the throat, then the fast does not break. So you had your mouth open and you did not stick your tongue out like a frog, and it just went in your oral cavity because it knew that you've got, mashallah, a lot of suhoor food inside. So the fast does not break. Especially when you go in India, when you're on a motorbike, try and cover the mouth, because flies do get inside, especially when in Baruch. Apologies if you live there, but this is a bit of reality. Hygiene should be prioritized, cleanliness. However, if one purposely inhales smoke, then the fast will break if he knows that he or she is fasting. So say agarbatti, incense stick. Yani some people, mashallah, they do have a lot of incense stick, they go around like this, fasting. It's fine to do so, but ideally don't do it in Ramadan. You know, the, what do you call it, Loban? The Loban, the oud smell, you know, we have that stand over there. Yeah, so try not to take it near you. If it just goes into yourself, goes into your nasal cavity, your nose or your mouth without intention, then it does not break the fast. But if you then take your incense stick and stick up your nose and go like that, then obviously that will break the fast. Applying oil, lotion or surma onto the body, whether it's cream or anything, whatever it is, on the body or the eyes does not break the fast, even if the taste of the oil or surma is felt in the throat. So any external creams that you have, external lotions, oils, argan oil, you want to, brighten your face before Eid, will not break your fast. Applying oil or surma into the eye will not break the fast. Someone asked me yesterday about contact lenses, because obviously you use the solution with the contact lens and the liquid drops that you put in the eye after it or before it. The ruling which I explained yesterday, putting anything into the eye, medication or otherwise, will not break the fast. However, because there's an ikhtilaf between the ulama, even though the sound opinion is that it does not break the fast, it's better for you to avoid the ikhtilaf of the ulama by doing these things after iftar or before suhoor, if it's possible. Okay, contact lenses may be difficult because you need glasses. Okay, otherwise you might bump into the lamppost. Yes, so that's a different thing. But other things that you can wait until after iftar, or you can do it before suhoor, bisahri end, and then try and do that, inshallah. Okay. Yesterday I explained this as well. What's the ruling about the gums bleeding? Can someone explain? MashaAllah. Haji
Gums bleeding shouldn't be swallowed.
MashaAllah.
Shouldn't be swallowed.
Yeah, shouldn't be swallowed. If the blood is dominant over the saliva in terms of the taste we are talking about here, in terms of fasting, colour obviously is the criterion in wudu, and then you swallowed it, you swallowed the saliva and the blood was dominant over the saliva, and you tasted the bitterness of the saliva in your throat, bitterness of the blood, apologies, then the fast will break. If your gums bled and you swallowed it, but then you could not taste the bitterness of the blood, your fast will not break. You understand? Eating by mistake, and as soon as you remember you are fasting, spitting out the food will not break the fast, as I've explained to you. If, however, you swallow the food that's in your mouth because you could not resist the taste, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, take it all in. So you take it all in, your fast will break, but only if qaza is necessary. You shouldn't do that. Water entering the ear, whether you put it into the ear or it goes into the ear, it does not invalidate the fast. Okay. If there is a situation which arises in which a ghusl becomes necessary on you, a nocturnal emission, etc., will not break your fast. If someone in the state of fasting, he went to sleep and then they experience that state in which a ghusl becomes necessary, they are in the state of janaba, the fast has not broken. Yes, they need to do ghusl as soon as possible. Because remember the angels, لا تدخل الملائكة بيتا فيه كلب ولا سورة, and the hadith continues, the angels of mercy do not enter that home in which there is a picture or a photo of an animate object or a dog, the animal dog, or a person who's in a state of a major ritual defilement, where they need to do ghusl. The angels of mercy do not enter that place. Therefore, when a person is at the brink of death, in the agonies of death, in sakaratul maut, those who are in that state of janaba should not come close to that person, because it deters, stops the angels of mercy coming to that deceased person, easing the extraction of the soul. I was mentioning one point here. You know what I mentioned to you about ghusl here, ghusl janabat. If a scenario arises where you need to do ghusl janabat in fasting, then you obviously do the ghusl. Just to clarify a point here, it doesn't mean that you can miss the faraid. There's 3 faraid al-ghusl. Which are they? What are the 3 faraid al-ghusl? Washing the lips in the mouth, mashallah. Cleaning the nose, excellent. Washing the entire parts of the body, so that not even a speck is left dry, excellent, mashallah. You are not to miss any of the fard. The only thing you do is this: you rinse your mouth, but you do not gargle. You rinse your nose, but you do not sniff it to the extent that it reaches the soft bone. As Maulana explained, the sinus point, where you feel the sting, you don't do that. You still do it. Some people, what they do, they're in that state and they say, oh, I don't need to rinse my mouth, I don't need to sniff water into the nose. Okay, and they remain in the state of janaba in fasting, so all the recitations of the Quran that's happening, all the prayers that they have prayed with that janaba has been nullified, they have to repeat that again. So what we're saying here is this: in the state of fasting, if you need to do ghusl, you will not gargle. You will not tilt your throat, your head back and gargle. And you will rinse the mouth. And secondly, you will take water into the nose, but not sniff water into the nose until it reaches the soft part, soft bone, until it reaches the sinus area. Do you understand this point? And obviously the third fard you do anyway, washing the entire part of the body. Do you understand? Inshallah, I will allow you to ask any questions later on if you do have any. However, to remain in that state by which you will miss namaz, because in janaba, is haram. Makruh acts in fasting: to lie, obviously, jhoot bolna, ghibat karna, chughli, namima, tell tales, to swear, use abusive language, talk shamelessly, fuhsh goi, to cause someone harm, are all haram acts pre-fasting, and in fasting they become haram even more so. For example, in ihram, you have many restrictions. That pre-ihram state, they were haram anyway, but in ihram they become double haram. And in the haram they become even more so haram. In the haram boundaries. For a fasting person to taste or chew something without reason will render their fast makruh. But this is so as long as they do not then swallow the saliva. The only situation that we find in the books of fiqh in relation to a person being allowed to taste, not eat, is a woman who has a very ill-mannered, immoral, wicked, harsh husband, who is very fussy about the food that he eats. At the time of iftar, if you fed me salty food, then khair nahi. So bichari, she has to taste the food. Tasting means she puts it at the tip of the tongue, the food, and she can taste it, because the taste buds are there. Scientifically, you can prove me wrong, but this is in the books of fiqh. Okay? Scientifically, you can say, oh, it has to reach the throat here, then you can taste it. Abhi main taste kar raha hu. 2 rotiyan khatam ki hai. Abhi to tasting chal rahi hai. So then what should she do? She then has to spit it out and rinse her mouth. As soon as she's tasted it, spit it out. Her fast will not be invalidated. You understand? Recommended acts in fasting: to eat the suhoor. There's barakah. The Prophet said, eat the pre-dawn meal. There is barakah, for there is barakah in it. Barakah, blessings that we cannot see. Inshallah. To delay the pre-dawn meal closer to the time before Fajr commences. But here obviously it doesn't mean right at the last minute of Sahri and you're still brushing your teeth. No. What it means is try and prioritize that you do everything to the very close minute of Sahri end. But not to the last second, or, myself said delay it, so 3 baje tak khate raho. It doesn't mean that. Okay? Closer to the end time. Again, another Muslim act is to hasten to break one's fast as soon as it's sunset. Not to eat before sunset, but as soon as it's sunset, the first thing that you should do is break your fast. This is what it means. Hastening and breaking the fast as soon as it's Maghrib. And as I told you before, all these people, it is necessary for them to refrain from eating or drinking for the duration of the fasting hours until sunset, out of respect and honor of the month of Ramadan, who, if a person breaks their fast, they still have to remain in the state of fasting for the duration, for the remainder of the fasting hours. Similarly, if a woman becomes free or clean from menstrual periods and postnatal bleeding after true dawn, she needs to observe the state of fasting. If a boy becomes valid, becomes mature, then even though the qada of that day is not necessary, it is necessary upon that child who has now become an adult, inshallah Azza wa Jal, physically if not mentally, to observe the state of fasting. Similarly, if a non-Muslim embraces Islam during the daylight hours, the day of fasting, the hours of fasting, then even though the qaza is not necessary, they still have to observe the state of fasting. They still have to remain in that state of fasting until Salat al-Maghrib, until sunset. It's not Salat al-Maghrib until sunset, because Salat al-Maghrib can happen later on. It's sunset. Again, to clarify one point here, many times it's women, our sisters and women at home, they go off the adhan to break their fast. Or in India, they do a siren to indicate Sahri end time and iftar time. You should not follow that. You should follow the time. Okay? Not the siren, because someone may make a mistake. Okay? In doing so. And therefore you jeopardize your fast. Okay. Does anyone have any fast, mashallah? Any questions? You come up absent-minded. Okay, I'm just going to go through what we see here on the.
In India, they always wait for the signal from the mosque, whether azan or
Yeah. Again, they should not just rely on the signal. They should look at the time as well. The signal may not go off in the right.
Their own watch might be not regular, not accurate. So they all.
Okay. Then do both to be on the safe side. Okay.
Your own watch might be faster.
Inshallah, yeah.
Not accurate.
That's a possibility. So try the precautionary measure and do both, inshallah.
Go by the
But don't solely rely on that, because ulama have mentioned in the books of fiqh, because at times what happens is the signal goes off early than the prescribed time. And because of that, 30 seconds or 1 minute, the person's broken his fast earlier than the Sharia prescribed. So, ihtiyat obviously. Whatever's the safety measure, then opt for that, inshallah. Injections. The question that someone posed, and this is usually a common question anyway, will injections invalidate the fast? Injections inserted into the body, not directly into the stomach or the brain directly, but into the muscle or any part of the body, it will not invalidate the fast, will not break the fast. Okay? Blood tests. Ideally, you shouldn't have a blood test during fasting hours, but if you do have a blood test, obviously with blood tests, what the ruling is, you should not have a blood test if you know that such an amount of blood will be taken out of the body, will be extracted from the body, which will entail me becoming so weak that I will no longer be able to keep the fast of that day. Then you should not have that blood test. If it's a small amount, then that's fine. And anyway, having a blood test, blood extraction, blood letting will not break the fast. will not break the fast because it's coming out of the body. Nicotine patches will not break the fast. A woman who's pregnant or breastfeeding, the ulama have mentioned here, if they have a sahih, genuine reason, a genuine concern that fasting will harm the child in the womb or themselves, then they are allowed to miss. This genuine concern is, how do you ascertain it, how do you define it? It's defined through previous experience, or a sane-minded, I have to say this, sane-minded Muslim expert doctor, not a novice, not someone who's a beginner who says that don't keep a fast, just to keep him on the safe side. An expert, skilled, qualified Muslim, sane-minded doctor says that if you do so, it will harm the child. It won't, inshallah azza wa jalla, because the hadith of the Prophet Sumu tasihhu, keep a fast and you will regain health. Have yaqeen in the words of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How quickly we, listen to the words of the doctor, but when it comes to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, maybe not, in doubt, speculative. So that's the ruling in relation to them. A traveller, if someone, this is a very important ruling here again, because some people try to find leeways and they say, चलो कल रोज़ा नहीं लेके चलो लंदन जाते हैं, चलो हम बड़ी बेगम चले जाते हैं, कड़ी खानी है वहाँ पे. Okay. A traveller is only allowed to omit a fast. The Sharia allows a musafir. What kind of musafir? A musafir who initiates his journey or her journey of more than 57.5 miles, which equates to approximately 92 kilometers prior to the break of dawn. So, in this current day and age, if someone goes outside the Bolton boundary, which includes Farnworth, maybe Kersley, etc., Breakmit, West Horton, Belmont, Horwich, etc., those are the boundaries of Bolton. You exit those boundaries before 1:06 a.m. Sahri end, with the intention of travelling at a destination which covers a distance of 57.5 miles or more, then you are allowed not to keep a fast. That's the rukhsah. The azima would be to keep a fast. Nowadays, alhamdulillah, with the facilities that we have, we don't feel the fast anyway. Do you understand? So, the question is, if someone kept a fast, kept the intention of the Roza of Ramadan after the suhoor, at the time of suhoor, kept the intention for fasting, whilst they were not a musafir, they were still in Bolton, and then at 10 o'clock they initiated that journey to go to London. So what they did, whilst they were still in Bolton, they ate or they drank, thinking, "Main to musafir hone wala hu na. I'm going to become a musafir, so therefore I'm going to be given this allowance, this dispensation from the Sharia." So he ate and drank. This will not only break his fast or her fast, it will also necessitate a kafara. Do you understand? Do you understand?
No.
You didn't. I'm just going to clarify that again. Jazakallah. At 10 o'clock. So someone kept Sahri, kept the Roza.
You mean you're already in a state of fast?
He's already in a state of fasting. So he already made the intention of fasting, did suhoor, spent the night in the state of fasting, made the intention of fasting. At 10 o'clock in the morning, he then thinks, "I'm going to go to London, so therefore I'm going to break this fast because someone told me, as a musafir, you are allowed to break the fast." He's still in Bolton, and then he broke his fast. It will necessitate a qada and a kafara. 60 days of consecutive fasting. 60 days. And 60 days, what it means is that even if in between the haram days came, yani the days in which it is makruh tahrimi for you to keep a fast, i.e. the 10th, 11th, 12th and the 13th of Dhul Hijjah, on the 1st of Shawwal, Eid al-Fitr, came in between, they have to renew their cycle again. क्यों रोज़ा तोड़ा जानबूझ के? ये सज़ा है.
If somebody know he's going to London tomorrow, then?
Yeah. Again, valid question. If someone knows he's going to London tomorrow, and then he, at the time of Sahri, he's still in Bolton, he has to keep a fast. If he exits the boundary of Bolton before Suhoor, before Sahri end, before Subh Sadiq, then he is classed as a Musafir, he will be exempt from fasting. But if he's still in Bolton, was at the time of Suhoor, Subh Sadiq, apologies, no, Subh Sadiq is accurate, then he has to keep the fast. And in that situation, where the person thinks, no, I can still break my fast after being in the time of suhoor, he kept the intention of fasting and then he broke his fast, obviously, qazan kafara. Okay? If a person was returning back from London in a state that he was a musafir and all the conditions were met for him not to keep a fast, and then he entered the boundaries of Bolton at 10 o'clock in the morning, does he have to keep a fast or not?
No.
Okay, there's a situation here. If he came at 10 o'clock and he has not eaten anything from Sahri end until 10 o'clock, from 1:06 until 10 o'clock, as he was on the journey, then he can make the intention of fast. If he's not made the intention, that's fine because the Sharia allows him not to keep a fast. But he entered, he became a muqim now at 10 o'clock in the morning. He has to observe the state of fasting. Even though it's not necessary for him to give the fast, he still has to observe the state of fasting for the remainder of the hours of fast. Okay? Are you allowed to use a flavored miswak? You are not allowed to use a flavored miswak. This flavored business has now entered into miswak as well. With shisha, you had pomegranate flavor, strawberry flavor, coconut flavor, lime flavor, cocoa flavor, and it's miswak, cocoa flavored miswak. I don't think it exists, but this is probably a new bid'ah that people are going to innovate. You are not allowed to use artificial flavored siwak during fast. Natural flavored siwak, best from the piru tree. What's the piru tree? I don't know the exact term. I think in India it's usually in the Qabristan that they find these piru trees.
Pilori.
Huh?
Pilori.
Pilori, which you call pilori in Gujarati. It's got a lime taste, bitter taste to it, which is very good for the gums, etc. So you are allowed to use a siwak during fasting, even after midday. According to some madhahib, you are not allowed to use a siwak with to change the odor of the mouth. In the Hanafi madhab, unconditionally you are allowed to use a siwak, okay? But which have a natural flavor to them. Using a toothpaste and a toothbrush. Okay, in fasting, the ulama said it is makruh for you to use toothpaste. But if you are 100% sure that all the bits, even the flavor of the toothpaste will be completely rinsed out, it will not go down the throat, then you are allowed to use it, which is very highly unlikely. So therefore, the safest option is for you not to use a toothpaste, not to use a toothbrush. Okay, so then the question is, can I use just a toothbrush? Yeah, it's not as simple as that. With used toothbrushes, they do usually retain the taste of your Colgate or Aquafresh. And we usually say every toothpaste is Colgate, every vacuum is a Hoover. Alhamdulillah, it's a good way to remember things. So if you use that, and then you swallow the saliva, and you could, yeah, just mere toothbrush I'm talking about, toothbrush. You used it, and then you could feel the taste of the paste in your throat, your fast is broken. If it's brand new, then obviously you won't have this taste. Unless it's from a second-hand shop and you're borrowing it from someone else, then that's a different thing. Okay? So, best thing, avoid. Does anyone have any other sawalat before we finish and allow people to do a qaylula?
If a person gives a fast on a travel, while he's traveling, and is it compulsory not to have it, or is it optional?
During fasting,
Yeah.
when a person is traveling, such a traveling which is recognized as traveling in Sharia, which is 57.5 miles. Okay? And then obviously when you reach the destination to make an intention to stay there for less than 15 days, it is optional for them to fast. Yes, optional. So it's a rukhsa for them not to fast.
But if he fasts, then it's okay.
It's mashallah, it's good, it's better, it's fine, it's if he keeps the fast with the intention of gaining the barakah of Ramadan, it's fine, it's good. But obviously you should not use analogy here and say, okay, I'm a musafir and I've been given the rukhsa from Sharia of doing qasr, which means shortening the 4 rakats of farz prayers to 2. So then I say, to get more reward, I'm going to do 4. In this example, it will be wrong, it will be a sin to do so. You have to take the sadaqah that the Sharia gives it to you. It is a sadaqah from Allah, as the hadith says. The dispensation is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so therefore you will only pray 2 rakats farz for a 4 rakat namaz, dhuhr, asr and isha, when you are traveling in a state of safar.
After how long breaking the fast one should say azan?
Okay, good question. Okay. Remember, the Sharia always wants takfirul jama'ah. Takfirul jama'ah means a large number of people to participate in a congregation. So, if a person giving the adhan waits for a couple minutes to allow people to eat the khajur, especially people bring these ghee wale dates and with badan inside, takes time to chew it, obviously. And you need to eat an odd number of times, so that's 1, then obviously you take 2, that's the next odd number is 3. So if you pass that 4, then you say, once I need to eat another one, that's 5. So then, you need to allow people to eat their khajur, and then rinse their mouth properly. Okay? And then come to join the Jamaat. If you do that with the intention so that people will be able to join the Jamaat with the first takbir, tahimman, inshallah, the mu'adhin will also get the reward. So allow a bit of time, inshallah. I'm not saying, like in some masajid, they eat pakore and there's a whole, mashallah, dastarkhan, sufra, where they have pakore, people are eating pizzas, and this after half an hour the adhan is given for Salat al-Maghrib, not that. But for khajur and zamzam sharif, or khajur and a bit of water, allow people to, inshallah, without rushing, without suffocating on those pieces of dates.
After 21 hours, everyone need it,
Yes, absolutely, we all do. So please allow a bit more time, inshallah. The mu'adhin will also get the reward for sabr, inshallah, for allowing people to join the Jamaat in time. Many a times what happens is, because obviously in hastening the adhan, obviously the iqamah is also said immediately, straight after the mu'adhin finishes the dua, immediately the iqamah is said, and then Maghrib namaz is finished, and there's 2 rows of people who have missed their salah. So why don't we allow 2 more minutes so that all of them can join the Jamaat, all of them can participate in the reward. Inshallah. I'm not saying 5-10 minutes, I'm saying a bit more, few more minutes, inshallah.
Maulana Kalim, another question. When you mentioned about the vomiting, you said a mouthful, or less.
Yeah.
If it's less than a mouthful or more than a mouthful, which comes out of your mouth but doesn't go back in, is your rosa still, is it counted or is it broken?
If you vomit it out. Okay? And you don't take, obviously if you take it back in, okay, good question. If you vomit out.
If something comes out of your body.
Yes. Your fast will not break.
Even
But if you
it's a
take it
mouthful
in, if it's come out to the mouth, and then you take it in, it will break your fast.
break your fast. But if it's more than a mouthful,
Right?
it comes out. Does
Yes.
Does it break your fast?
It does not break your fast at all. No.
Okay, that's one question. The other question you mentioned yesterday was, if you've got asthma and you're fasting,
Ji.
okay, you have to take an asthma pump.
Ji.
You said your rosa breaks.
Yeah.
Is that just a qaza for that then?
Just a qaza. Because there's a genuine reason. If someone's got an asthma problem, may Allah protect, may Allah give them shifa, and so they keep a fast. But then it comes to a situation where they will fall unconscious, they will
Yeah.
gasp for air, they will have difficulty breathing, then they take that pump, it will not entail sin at all. They have to break the fast, they break the fast. Sharia allows them to break that fast. But only a qaza is necessary because they had a valid reason to break their fast.
Okay, that's two. That's okay. So the first one, the vomiting one, it won't break your fast.
It won't break the fast. If it's
Unless
natural,
got
natural
liquid or
vomiting.
blood in it, you said it break your fast.
Yeah, blood, food or liquid.
Okay, the asthma one's done. The blood test one quickly. If you have to have a blood test, say on your arm or something, the doctor puts the plaster on. Your rosa still counted.
Your rosa still
And then
counts.
when it comes to do the wuzu, what do I have to take the plaster off?
Yeah, okay, good, Jazakallah, good question. Okay, there's two situations here. If I was in the state of wudu, ritual purity, and I had my blood test done, so someone might say, oh, Malsab, you said the blood needs to flow. It's not flowed. It's flowed. It's in that thingy.
Yeah.
What do you call it here?
Syringe. Yeah.
Syringe, the bottle.
Yeah.
Okay? So therefore the blood's flowed, the wudu has broken. Now, with to stop the blood temporarily or at that moment in time, they put a plaster on. Usually you can take the plaster off within 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay? So with wudu, especially if it's the parts of the body, the limbs that are washed in wudu, you have to remove that plaster. If you kept that plaster on, which does not allow the water to permeate through, then your wudu will not count. With ghusl, it can be any part of the body, because washing the entire part of the body is a fard in ghusl janaba. So therefore you need to remove it. Okay, again with wounds that people have, the wound is this small, and the guy puts an entire big fat plaster or whatever, cast or bandage on it. This is
If
not
the,
allowed.
if the plaster is not in wuzu part, then it's okay to keep it.
Yeah, it's okay if it's not the wudu part. Yeah. But for obviously for ghusl janaba, he will have to remove it.
Yeah.
Yeah. MashaAllah, good question. If you take the plaster off and it starts to bleed again, and there's no way of stopping that blood except for you to put a bandage on, new one, then obviously you put the plaster on again, and then you can wash around it as close to the area as possible. Yeah? So not a big plaster, a small plaster that just suffices that area where the injection pricked you. Yeah? The syringe pricked you. Inshallah. Yes? Okay. Allah bless you all. Inshallah. Jazakallah for listening. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Maulana Muhammad. معدن الجود والكرم وآله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا من فضلك علما يقربنا منك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم آت نفسي تقواها وزكيها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها فاغفر لها. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع ومن دعوة لا يسمع. اللهم رب زدني علما والحقني بالصالحين. اللهم رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. اللهم رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. اللهم رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. اللهم لا تدع لنا في مقامنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا طالبا إلا وفقته ولا عسرا إلا يسرته ولا مشتاقا لزيارة حبيبك المصطفى صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم إلا بلغته ورزقته. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. جزا الله عنا سيدنا ومولانا محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وأهله. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.